advance. Oh, yes, but there's usually planning, courtship, advance notice, remote. It's like when you bought that remote-controlled helicopter. I assure you, you'll be sorry you wasted your money on an iPod. Bore. Come on, this is boring. You really want to talk about this? Collect. That launched a spacecraft to collect data about Pluto. Display. With prolonged goodbyes and maudlin displays of emotion. Especially when you just got out of a relationship. Buttock. But rather on the shape of the buttocks of a female bending over? Threaten. Yeah. Listen. I think she might be a little threatened by you. You know. Reality. My new book The Hidden Reality takes on a grand question. Humiliate. I humiliated Stephen Hawking in a game of words with friends. Forgot. Oh, I forgot to tell you we're gonna meet up with Bernadette. Connection. You know, the connection between marriage and money is nothing new. Spoon. They use it to put the food on a spoon which then goes into their mouth. Solid. Let's say you spend your life doing solid scientific research. Guilt. Sure. But let's go out here where there's a little less yelling and guilt. Intimacy. But I was wondering how you feel about other forms of intimacy. Patent. And it seems like we've got everything we need to file a patent. Cash. If you'll excuse me, I have some bar mitzvah bonds to cash. Honeymoon. Is it nice having Sheldon and Amy away on their honeymoon? Duty. One of the 5 central religious duties or sacrifices of the Hindu householder? Connect. Like the pirate who helps the other pirates connect to the internet? Chick. Oh, and if you spot a chick with a seeing eye dog, she's mine. Pour. Why don't I pour it in your lap and you can tell me? Swing. Yeah. We swung by her apartment on the way to the restaurant. Biology. Well, evolutionary biology says that women are attracted. Silence. I'm sorry, how is this better than uncomfortable silence? Superpower. He miniaturizes himself, enters the city where he loses his superpowers. Engaged. Well, she was engaged to my cousin while she was sleeping with my brother. Allergic. For the highly allergic kosher only on the high holidays Howard. Curiosity. Just out of curiosity, what time do you usually go to bed? Source. Caused by relative motion between the source of the wave and the observer. Usual. Obviously, my usual choices have not worked out so well. Barbecue. I was just wondering if we had any large barbecue tongs. Batman. I am asserting. In the event that Batman's death proves permanent. Search. Is a little man with a flashlight searching for a circuit breaker. Guide. Howard. You wave the blanket and guide him towards the exit. Bell. Now, assuming the left side of a bell curve peeking around the present. Tag. First thing you can do is put price tags on these. Unfortunately, we weren't able to convince him to go to rehab. Decade. You kept us here for over a decade in a job we absolutely adore. Dipped her pacifier in a little bourbon. She conked right out. Identify. I never would have identified the fingerprints of string theory. Tricky. That was tricky, 'cause when it comes to alcohol. Greeting. Well, it seems that the newcomer approaches the existing group with the greeting. Charming. I know. And it just made you sound modest and charming. Doll. Those dolls represent 3 things I do not care for. Petty. That's nice. It'll be your first petty act as a married man. Defeat. You've chosen to tangle with a superior intellect you can't defeat. Sky. That would explain why the sky was also on its side. Medium. A new clothing size between medium and large called Marge. Gravy. But I got demoted for being too generous with the gravy. Manipulate. But I want to manipulate the emotions of 2 captive human beings. Lunatic. What kind of lunatic goes to McDonald's and gets fruit? Shampoo. While we're on the subject, you recently changed your shampoo. Journey. I've always thought that my father's journey and my own were so different. Snack. I didn't say the snacks were for you now, did I? Nosy Rosie? Secure. While your favorite pen is safe and secure in your pocket. Helmet. The importance of an actor's signature on a plastic helmet. Prime. Of course. In another universe. Let's call it Universe Prime. Fancy. Are you gonna dress in drag in front of your fancy? Glue. And glued a big-eyed rubber alien mask to the outside of my window. Toss. And I won't toss him aside for some Hollywood pretty boy. Bosom. If she hadn't worn that bathing suit that highlighted her bosom. File. You can file an official complaint, but if they do have a permit. Complex. Leonard, you will be doing a series of complex mathematical problems. Disappointing. Where the disappointing ending to? I lost. I was filmed. Agent. You know the rules of secret agent laser obstacle chess. Legal. You've been frequenting drinking establishments since you were of legal age. Yoga. The sitting around all day wearing yoga pants factory? Clause. With the friendship clause of our roommate agreement nullified. Tour. Thought I'd give the little woman a tour of the old salt mines. Psychic. Well, I went to this psychic who told me that if I cut my hair slightly, yes, there's nothing quite like the slightly widened eyes. Structure. The motion of the wave through the molecular structure. Treasure. The entire nation dedicated a decade of effort and treasure. Impressed. That it's doubtful that his mother will be overly impressed. Halfway. Event B. We drive halfway across town to retrieve a television set. Magical. I don't need to be a member of the most elite magical society. Furniture. There's absolutely no money in my budget for additional office furniture. American. Did you guys see the paper in the American Physics Journal on supersolids? Permit. You can file an official complaint, but if they do have a permit, bury. But if it did, you could bury me at the funeral home you direct. Fever. My fever has been tracking up exponentially since 2:00 a.m. Pleasant. Very. It was pleasant seeing you today in the cafeteria. Reading. It's on the recommended reading list for my psychology class. Supply. For example, I noticed that you purchase your tampons 1 month supply at a time. Shrimp. Beef with broccoli. Shrimp with lobster sauce and vegetable lo mein. Snake. You should know that I've moved my money out of the snake can. Plot. So your evil plot here is to buy your girlfriend a present? Comet. So I'm gonna make sure that your name is on the comet. Calculate. It's useful for calculating the number of atoms in a substance. Improve. Have you considered improving your socialization skills? Lamb. Can you believe our little lamb is finally getting married? Fantasy. He's asking if we can come as anyone from science fiction. Fantasy. Among. Which suggests either a remarkable passivity among the, I assume, forest. You had to be taught not to burn down the forest? Polish. I use those. Just to polish up my spearfishing equipment. Nation. You could replace German shepherds at our nation's airports. Root. And refers to a traditional lantern hand carved from a root vegetable. Pile. And tries to climb into bed with the Leonard-shaped pile of pillows. Immediately. When we have guests come, they immediately want to see what's down here. Advanced. Sheldon. I have an advanced degree in the study of the human brain. Movement. And don't even ask about the consistency of my bowel movements. Wound. Well, so much for making up for the emotional wounds of childhood. Peace. I've come to peace with my relationship with my parents. Maintain. Imagine you maintained a friendship with someone you had sex with. Rubber. And glued a big-eyed rubber alien mask to the outside of my window. Mama. Hey, Leonard. Your mama's research methodology is so flawed. Tomato. Oh, the thing about tomatoes, and I think you'll really enjoy this. Storm. Yeah. Looks like there's a big storm all up the East Coast. Detector. Oh. So they would act as natural dark matter detectors. Humiliating. And humiliating wedgies and the insensitively named Indian burns. Urge. I can't just give in to every urge I have when I have it. Towards. Howard. You wave the blanket and guide him towards the exit. Happiness. Even if the reason for their happiness made the first person unhappy. Achieve. What if this People magazine thing is the best Raj is ever going to achieve? Pancake. I wish that the apple pancake mix was on the top shelf. Beef. Beef with broccoli. Shrimp with lobster sauce and vegetable lo mein. Height. If the height of a single step is off by as little as 2 millimeters. Thermostat. Like how he turns up the thermostat when you're not there. Radiation. Solve a conference on the theory of radiation and quanta. Disgusting. And still not even close to the most disgusting person in there. U.S. Do you work for a sanctioned department of the U.S. government? Director. I think I saw the director twirling a sign outside the Verizon store. Enterprise. The Enterprise was on a 5-year mission to explore new worlds. 5th. Before that, I was in college. And before that, I was in the 5th grade. Spill. I've won a few, but that's just because I spill when I'm drunk. Drone. I got a buddy of mine at NORAD to have a spy drone fly over. Flush. Well, flush Sheldon down the toilet and get me a new one. Utter. It's not like I'm an astronaut floating around in outer space. Pal. My pen pal in Somalia was kidnapped by pirates. Servant. You know, civil servants have a documented propensity to, snap. So, prison. Is Ernest Goes to Jail the only prison movie you've seen? Heel. There's no clickety-clacking of high heel shoes on hardwood floors. Criminal. Going home. Where I won't be interrogated like a criminal. Intelligence. Pictionary is not a true test of any real intelligence or skill. Korean. You stop at the Korean grocery and get the good hot mustard? Zoo. As those that plagued Stu the cockatoo when he was new at the zoo. Bubble. But there are little bubbles forming on the corners of Sheldon's mouth. Pursue. Because I hadn't offered any concrete suggestions for pursuing our friendship. Snap. Civil servants have a documented propensity to, snap. So, fiction. You might be an expert on theoretical physics and science fiction programs. Insist. Why he insists on giving all his characters first and last names. Spread. The phrase Shelley Cooper's a smelly pooper spread like wildfire. Steam. Shall we steam the wrinkles out of our wizard robes? Accurate. But it seems pretty accurate, considering who you based it on. Luckily. Okay, that hurts. But luckily I know how to breathe through it. Communicate. So it sounds like we need a way to communicate that simple. Jet. Jetpack. Hoverboard. Transporter. Batmobile. And then giant ant. Asian. It's for one of her colleagues who is of Asian descent. Notebook. You're probably going to want to start with this notebook here. Prostate. Why do I feel like I'm the one that just got the prostate exam? / Leonard has no business being involved with a waitress/actress. Conduct. Mother. If you're going to conduct your life in this fashion. Hormone. Scientists observed a 33-day fluctuation in men's hormone levels. Flat. That's B flat. For those who don't have perfect pitch. Infinite. If there are an infinite number of parallel universes. Tuesday. You'll be happy to know that I plan to come here every Tuesday night. Reservation. Amy had reservations about our relationship. Password. To binge watch Hot in Cleveland with my Hulu password. Significant. I brought a lot of significant assets into the relationship. 2. Fuel. And with that, comes with an estrogen fuel need to page through. 7th. 4.1855 times 10 to the 7th ergs per calorie, beta. And as the first beta testers, you two will have quite the edge. Unit culture by enabling a low unit cost for manufactured goods. Prank. Why do you waste your time with cheap, childish pranks? Amusing. That's amusing. I was going to say that about MIT. Army. You would wind up with an army so cute it couldn't be attacked. Defend. Because you were defending Sheldon like you always do. Average. A greater than average involvement in their children's love lives. Handful. So I gave him a glass of warm milk with a handful of my mom's Valium in it. Sub. Because you stuffed yourself with a chicken carbonara sub at Quiznos. Path. Do you realistically see any conversational path that would take me from mankind? It's a scientific discovery that has staggering implications for all mankind. Reception. We'll still have the big reception with everyone when you get back. P. For being stingy with the peas couldn't keep her hands off you. Superior. A superior creature whose egg is placed in the nest of ordinary birds. Thrill. Rajesh's mother was thrilled when she was pregnant with him. Con. What about that girl last year at Comic-Con? Mug. Make it good enough to go on a mug, a mouse pad, and a calendar. Sack. See, this man here is playing hacky sack, and this girl's gonna be a paralegal. Trial. The blunt instrument that will be the focus of my murder trial? And the giant ant would be crushed under the weight of its own exoskeleton. India. Actually, I read somewhere that it's one of the most popular programs in India. Miniature. I don't remember you buying these miniatures in my store. Peer. She needs a point-to-point peer network with a range extender. Oil. Spearmint and green tea scented bath oil. Promotes relaxation. Pot. Hey, you know, my mom smoked pot when she was pregnant with me. Worm. Code red the computer worm, or code red the cherry flavored. Cycle. And 4 is still releasing the fabric softener too early in the cycle. 4. 8. All I need from you is to take me in the back. Give me a band-aid and warrior. Spellcasters in the back, warriors in the front. Revenge. But I'm not done telling you about my wedding revenge plans. Squeeze. Personally, I can squeeze through a hole in a fence half my size. Relate. It's a branch of philosophy related to linguistics. Fighting. What if the fighting is the reason we're making progress? Quickly. An impossibility that nature will quickly resolve into death. Mutilation. Nicely. The dark crescent-shaped patterns under your arms conceal it nicely. Heck, you've had sex almost as many times as I have fingers. Practically. I can practically smell the lotus blossoms woven into your ebony hair. Tickle. For the last time, I am not having a tickle fight with you. Background. They shot me in front of a starry background where I posed like this. Strip. I'm not going to walk into the lab, ask her to strip naked and dance for me. Tail. The last girl my mom set me up with had a mustache and a vestigial tail. Tumor. Come on. Tumor. Mama needs an aggressive little glioblastoma. Appointment. I had an appointment to interview Dr. Cooper about the Nobel. Orange. This little orange sticker is all that stands between us and anarchy. Tend. Well, Leonard doesn't need as much tending to as Sheldon does. Mountain. And analyze the data so that you don't crash into Geek Mountain again. Boom. For making boom boom in the potty. Facial. Forgive me. As you know, I'm no adept at reading facial cues. Violate. When you're feeling a little less, for lack of a better word, violated. Mouse. Make it good enough to go on a mug, a mouse pad, and a calendar. Mustard. You stop at the Korean grocery and get the good hot mustard? Affection. And you win back her affection with an empty financial gesture. Produce. Everybody knows genetic diversity produces the strongest offspring. German. You could replace German shepherds at our nation's airports. Butterfly. That's what you said about the butterfly pavilion at the zoo. Update. So, Bert, you were telling us how you updated your profile? Society. I don't need to be a member of the most elite magical society. Wallet. Oh, is there a picture of you in my wallet wearing a metal bikini? Register. This device will register it and send a signal to the laptop. Tech. Helping to build a prototype for a high-tech guidance system. Mechanic. If we connect it to the measurement problem in quantum mechanics. Rice. You know, it's where you find rice pudding and jazz. Attach. I was not panicked, and I am not overly attached to Leonard. Chinese. I got to floss the Indian food out of my teeth if I'm gonna eat Chinese. Detect. To the National Science Foundation to detect slow-moving monopoles. Grocery. You stop at the Korean grocery and get the good hot mustard? Relative. Caused by relative motion between the source of the wave and the observer. Pose. To send Terminators back posing as actors who have played Terminators in. Crib. I noticed the village couldn't find time to put the crib together. Interaction. I initially saw their interactions as confusing and unstructured. Bookstore. You are probably thinking the comic book store on a Thursday. Baseball. But that's a baseball bat with two little baseballs. Classified. It's full of classified information about the Air Force project. Nipple. Yeah. And chocolate milk is gonna squirt out of my nipples. Singe. I stayed up all night singing the clown's aria from Pagliacci. Shock. Just don't be shocked when you find out that I don't care. Employ. Stuart is taller, artistic, self-employed and, most significantly, engagement. We're canceling your speaking engagements and your interviews. Bike. This thing kept getting caught in the chain of my bike tissue. Oh, hey, oh, ask her to do the tissue thing. Sight. Gentlemen, I think we are losing sight of the real issue. Symptom. Oh, well, I've been having some fascinating menopausal symptoms recently. Wax. Ah, no, they usually don't have to go out and get more wax. Log. If you like, you can review my daily log of social interactions. Recall. If you recall, I pointed out the check engine light to you several months ago. Examine. I really think we should examine the chain of causality here. Previously. Has an additional 21 seconds of previously unseen footage. Gynecologist. Looks like something used by Tinker Bell's gynecologist. Satellite. Well, if that's the case, Penny will have to get satellite TV. Nowhere. I was just frustrated because my career is going nowhere. Terrify. And I was terrified about appearing in front of a big crowd. Liar. And let her know the office is full of liars. Major. May I remind you that you're the president of a major university. Succeed. Who has what it takes to succeed in theoretical physics? Loose. Because, let's face it, you're somewhat of a loose cannon. Inch. I'd like to point out that my brother is 8 inches taller than me. Pace. Assuming I can keep up this pace. 3 hours, 11 minutes. Medication. We are testing a new medication for social anxiety, panic attacks. Ankle. Well, if Bernadette wants her ankles to swell up even more. Arctic. Last time, I was able to book a cruise to the Arctic to see a solar eclipse. Coat. Thin woman who wants to make a coat out of your Dalmatians. Chew. Penny. If you promise not to chew the flesh off our bones while we sleep, you can stay. Bind. I'm bound by closet organizer organizee confidentiality. Solar. Last time, I was able to book a cruise to the Arctic to see a solar eclipse. Similar. He does. But apparently, they're very similar to the actual rules. Circumstance. It's all pomp and circumstance until someone loses an eye. Guarantee. There's no guarantee we're gonna go against each other in the Wundwaben. Esteem. I could never be with a woman whose self-esteem was so low. Asteroid. I do know that it won't be from an asteroid strike. Molecular. The motion of the wave through the molecular structure. Delivery. You know, they have delivery people that will do that for you. Knife. Now, while you scold us, I'm going to get a knife and a fork. Intolerant. A quesadilla with soy cheese for the lactose intolerant Leonard. Creature. A superior creature whose egg is placed in the nest of ordinary birds. Pit. Did she leave pit stains in your favorite crop top? 2. Cherry. Code red the computer worm. Or code red the cherry flavored. Pink. And right now you're just a cute, pink smudge wearing. Health. Whose unknown provenance jeopardizes the health and welfare. Belly. It's when you take a drink out of a stranger's belly button. Scratch. Oh, I found a scratch and sniff book about wine tasting. Mature. I'll put that money into a CD. Wait for that CD to mature. Cleaning. Well, the cleaning lady was there, but she doesn't like me. Thursday. So, Leonard, how are you enjoying Anything Can Happen Thursday? Behave. What if I got him to apologize and promise to behave? Golf. Okay, no warehouse store, but we're still on for putt-putt golf, right? Context. I'm no expert, but I believe in the context of a luncheon invitation. Stain. His uniform now stained with indestructible Kryptonian perspiration. Alley. All right, perhaps this task will be a little bit more up your alley. Logic. Until I met you, my decisions were founded in logic and reason. Logical. It's the logical fallacy of extending someone's argument to ridiculous proportions. Phase. All right, that moves us on to the tactical shipping phase. Drill. Okay, if I may drill down to the bedrock of my question. Bathtub. How about a bathtub? A match and an ice-cold yoo-hoo after. Communication. All we have to do is rig up a 3D communication system. Chart. Howard, I'm so sorry your blood pressure was off the charts. Disappear. And some jerk said I looked so skinny I might disappear. Dryer. And you help me fold my sheets when they come out of the dryer. Stream. So you stopped at the stream and you turned north 3 times? Bucket. And a bucket of whatever bite-sized treats you find tasty. Purse. Like a new purse to put all this money in. Affect. As a female scientist, I think what you do affects all of us. Bend. Leonard, my comforter fell down, and my sinuses hurt when I bend over. Firm. Which would allow overseas car firms to hedge their investments. Carbon. I can hear you metabolizing oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide. Comedy. And come up with a definitive theory of comedy is absurd. Oven. And don't tell my hips, but I'm warming up a brie in the oven. Tunnel. It's called carpal tunnel syndrome, and quite frankly you deserve it. Ingredient. What you're buying here are the ingredients for very expensive urine. England. That illustrates the character's journey through England. Stuck. I haven't seen him this stuck since he tried to figure out. Vampire. And that was a woman torn between 2 hunky vampires. Intimidate. I understand your impulse to try to physically intimidate me. Confuse. You might be confused because he didn't use the words. Penny. Sheldon. Swallow. I gargled with tequila and may have swallowed a teeny bit. Arrangement. I thought we might want to talk about our living arrangements. Prevent. Are misfiring neurons in your hippocampus preventing the conversion? Dangerous. I'd like to report a dangerous wild animal. Midnight. And later, the Lego store is having a Midnight Madness sale. Style. I arrive in a little house on the prairie style horse-drawn buggy. Reverse. They could only reverse or revamp a jury's conviction. Polite. It's also polite to make sure you're well groomed down there. Officer. The stiff penalties for impersonating a federal officer. Flavor. The worst tapioca pudding is better than the best pudding of any other flavor. Permission. Are you saying I need to ask your permission to hang out with Leonard? Pure. They're basically pure hydrocarbons soaked in fat. Fort. Of who's allowed in his tree fort if he ever gets one. Helicopter. It's like when you bought that remote-controlled helicopter. Lion. Sheldon. Not that we don't all enjoy a good lion semen story, miss. And then you can wash it down with a cup of Swiss Miss instant cocoa. Choke. Try to pass out face down, so you don't choke on your vomit. Electricity. And told everybody he was gonna provide free electricity for the whole town. Internal. I believe the Internal Revenue Service would strongly disagree. Whip. How does an archaeology professor get that good with a whip? Japanese. And who is that Japanese feline I see frolicking on your shorts? Zip. Until one of you breaks down and moves to another zip code. Confront. Orange chicken is tangerine chicken and I intend to confront them. Weigh. Oh, that has been weighing on me for years. Lemon. I think I'm gonna try green tea mixed with lemon zinger. Initiate. Anyhow, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being always initiated by him. Deck. It must be on the permit from when you built your deck. Assign. Which task would you assign the highest priority? Muffin. Anyway, I go to make those little corn muffins they give you. Encourage. Encouraging more women to pursue a career in the sciences. Lame. Are you gonna make us pretend to be a bunch of lame characters? Impression. I would not do your Stephen Hawking impression in front of him. Hawk. That ought to let the air out of your tires. Hawking. Direction. We want to see if they twirl their junk in the other direction. Distress. Was because you were in distress and I was rescuing you. AM. My fever has been tracking up exponentially since 2 o'clock AM. Shelf. The 3 of us now get individual shelves and the door becomes communal. Invention. So maybe they just want to give you a lot of money for your invention. Kissing. We know everything there is to know about kissing. Ditch. I need you and Raj to help me get the rover out of the ditch. Knee. I will put you over my knee right here in this restaurant. Emotionally. Is more emotionally valuable than the help he would get at rehab. Cushion. But I still maintain the whoopee cushion has comic validity. Differently. You really think they're gonna start treating you differently? Cortex. But since my cerebral cortex is twiddling its proverbial thumbs. Draft. I just got so caught up reading the draft of your latest paper. Jewelry. I used some of the jewelry techniques you taught us. Ghost. Yeah, it'll help them get away when they see a GHGH ghost. Bored. Do you think that if Leonard and I keep dating, he'll eventually get bored with me? English. Cambodian. English. Farsi. Korean. Spanish and Vietnamese. Integrity. I'm sorry, are you questioning my integrity as a scientist? Beam. Or have a stranger carve out your corneas with a laser beam? Headphone. Ah, Leonard, why don't you grab some headphones and join us? Lord. The Lord spoke to him and moved him to give us all 20% off on LASIK. Diamond. He gave her a pair of diamond earrings and leased her a car. Pigeon. Not getting to see who wins at pigeon paying pong comes to mind. Email. You violated my rule about forwarding email humor. Cereal. Most people don't sort their breakfast cereal numerically by fiber content. Coincidence. People unfamiliar with the law of large numbers would call a coincidence. Sneeze. Well, he started to question it, but then I fake sneezed on him. Frog. Or you're the frog who's been kissed by a princess. Pact. The first time Priya came to LA, Leonard and I made a pact. Censor. You'll need to get the censor as close as you can to Sheldon's room. Insecure. Who felt so insecure that she lied to him about finishing community college? Imaginary. He'd send his imaginary friends home at the end of the day. Lousy. I guess I was just feeling like I'm a lousy husband. Individual. The three of us now get individual shelves and the door becomes communal. Towel. Because the university replaced the paper towels in the restrooms. Transfer. I assume the skills can be extrapolated and transferred. Printer. He said he'd help me set up my printer, but I guess I can wait. Gaming. Well, you wouldn't want your gaming system to overheat. Scented. Spearmint and green tea scented bath oil. Promotes relaxation. Cocktail. Oh, that stuff is so good wrapped around cocktail weenies. Coconut. Yeah, I used coconut shavings to do the hair on his feet. Combination. Wine. Credit card and late night television are a bad combination. Artist. It's the untold story of female artists during the Renaissance. Organism. What would a one-celled organism have to be embarrassed about? Musical. In a world where a piano is a weapon, not a musical instrument. Lifetime. The biggest scientific breakthrough of our lifetime. Hip. You'd either have to break your hip or let Howard knock you up. Parenting. Penny's been using one of Bernadette's parenting books on you. Shadow. Someone's got to hold off the demon of shadow and flame. Repeat. Undoubtedly another snide response to my repeated letters complaining. Opening. I think it's nice that Captain Sweetpants showed up to your art opening. Jelly. There's also a time to stop eating too many jelly beans. Confirm. But if we were part of the team that confirmed string theory. Mustache. The last girl my mom set me up with had a mustache and a vestigial tail. Stem. It may stem from the fact that Leonard and Penny used to jabber. We wouldn't have had to put up with all this jibber jabber. Uterus. If one more person puts their fingers near my uterus. Barn. This reminds me of a traditional Amish barn raising. Balcony. You know, your new balcony kind of looks right over our fence. Backwards. And all those sweaty dumbasses with their backwards hats. Acknowledge. Initial here to acknowledge that you've returned your key. Admire. And how much I respect and admire your leadership. Courage. You have to have the courage to end the relationship. Wool. Just working it under all those layers of wool and polyester. Percent. That's the great thing about NyQuil. It's like 10% booze. Oatmeal. Aren't you worried you're making French toast on oatmeal day? Understandable. Understandable. But there's a universality to that story which transcends ethnicity. Addiction. Don't forget his genetic predisposition towards addiction. Poster. And your haircut is number 3 on that poster from 1946. Root. All the trade route talk, and the boring Senate hearings. Nearly. Although, not in a robot voice, so it wasn't nearly as cool. Chore. Bernie, can I outsource my chores to an Indian guy? Tedious. From my commitment to attend her aunt's tedious birthday party. Cultural. It tells us that you participate in the mass cultural delusion. Stock. I usually don't put too much stock in charms and talismans. Iron. Daddy needs a livable planet he can rule with an iron fist. Grape. Not as fun as the night we blew up grapes in the microwave. Production. And a genetic predisposition to inadequate serotonin production. Expedition. This is to train for a 3-month expedition to the magnetic North Pole. False. Popular films and television series, lulling us into a false sense. Particular. They don't talk incessantly for no particular reason. Offend. What could I possibly have done to offend Mrs. Vardabedian? Participate. It tells us that you participate in the mass cultural delusion. Absurd. And come up with a definitive theory of comedy is absurd. Blink. It'll be nice to see the parts I missed while I was blinking. Download. So now we have to download all these forms and fill them out. Google. And during, I was trying to remember what I read on Google. So, criticize. You know, I don't want to criticize your rhetorical style, manner, I'm finding your bedside manner a little lacking. Debt. But you did secure a formal acknowledgement of the debt. Swell. Everyone keep an eye on Howard in case he starts to swell up. Narrow. And I need you to save them all until we narrow it down. Motorcycle. Not like the can we get a motorcycle with a sidecar. Scan. We're actually scanning equations and getting good results. Generous. But I got demoted for being too generous with the gravy. Bible. And I'm betting she never hit you with a Bible because vision. Until one lone dreamer with a unique vision made it happen. Upper. With a cluster of dead pixels in the upper left-hand corner. Hallway. And immediately adjacent to the hallway was this. Satisfy. I have a functioning and satisfying relationship with a female. Airplane. That only 60 years before had just invented the airplane. Allergy. And my allergies. One kiss would put me in Cedars-Sinai for a week. Particularly. You realize that I'm not a particularly physical person. Existence. No. But your ability to perceive their existence is conditional. Anger. Your anger is not with me, sir, but with basic mathematics. Mental. There are plenty of smart people who don't have mental problems. Entertain. Think we need to start entertaining the possibility. Burst. Leonard. Raj and I are going to burst out the door and run away. Snow. You can hire Snow White to come to your house. Acceptable. I'm sorry, but Gollum and Flacky are not acceptable. Presents. And that roses were ashamed to bloom in the presence of her ruby lips. Puppet. Something way worse than a puppet is gonna pop out of that box. Cocoa. And then you can wash it down with a cup of Swiss Miss instant cocoa. Therefore, the timeline in which 1955 Biff gets the almanac. Italian. She likes cooking Italian because according to her. Whore. Who needs Halo, when we can be regaled with the delightfully folksy tale of the whore of Omaha? Ugly. Has your relationship reached its inevitable ugly end? Festival. Anyway, I was thinking we could have a little film festival tonight. Extend. It's the logical fallacy of extending someone's argument to ridiculous proportions. Prepared. No, I told you, you're not prepared for the sanctum of burning souls. React. It'll be cooled immediately before it reacts with the conduction. Alarm. And you don't wish to alarm me with any more loud noises. Stab. Yeah. I don't need anything around that I can stab myself with. Foreign. You failed to take into account that even mute. I am foreign and exotic. Slave. Irene was always a slave to a good bargain when it came to clothes. Cello. When I broke up with Penny, I got back into my cello. Ill. I lost this to Wallowitz in an ill-considered cricket wager. Monitor. You're going to be monitoring the telescope for 12 hours. Criticism. I'll do better than that. I'll give him constructive criticism. Several. If you recall, I pointed out the check engine light to you several months ago. Neurobiology. Hey, I've been training in the field of neurobiology for 12 years. Modern. But, if you took advantage of modern marketing techniques. Teenager. Which just so happens was also my motto as a lonely teenager. Balance. The only man who can restore any semblance of balance to our universe. Decent. You'd think a winner could make a decent cup of cocoa. Needy. While we're apart, can I see other needy Indian men? Grasp. I'm sorry, we don't have a code for robot hand grasping a man's penis. Fur. They don't shed fur. They don't make noise. Target. It was already targeted to poke around a nuclear reactor in Siberia. Difficulty. But I have difficulty navigating certain aspects of daily life. Evolve. Since he won't take the bus and he's too evolved to drive. Miracle. But it'll be a miracle if one person asks for my autograph. Wig. If I wanted curls for dinner, I'd order a clown wig. Shout. She puts on her plus-size Wonder Woman costume and shouts. Commit. By tomorrow, I want everyone to have this committed to memory. Eyebrow. I told you things would change if you plucked your eyebrows. Collectible. Shall we say the seedy underbelly of the collectibles world? Popcorn. No popcorn at the mob. Listen to yourself. Dictate. Yes, I believe protocol dictates that you wait a minimum. Innocent. When I first met Howard, he seemed so innocent to me.